Hello and welcome to the first episode on the State of the Union addresses. A State of the Union address, mandated in Article 2, Section 3, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution, is an annual message delivered by the President to Congress on how well or poorly the United States was doing for that year. The topics mentioned in these addresses vary greatly, as each president was focused on something different than any other president. With the addresses, there are also replies from both houses of Congress, which will be included in this video as well. In this series, I will read each address. If you want to read along, you can get the transcripts from the site, www.theamendingamerica.com. Link in the description below and in the upper corner, and the text is on the page that says Timeline. There are almost 500 primary source documents that you can read through, starting from Christopher Columbus's journey to the New World to the most recent State of the Union addresses, which right now is Biden's first annual message. And we will be reading about half of what's currently on the timeline with just the State of the Union addresses, since there are over 230 annual messages. The first State of the Union, George Washington's first annual message. Senate Chamber of Federal Hall, New York City, January 8th, 1790. Fellow citizens of the Senate and House of Representatives, I embrace with great satisfaction the opportunity which now presents itself of congratulating you on the present favorable prospects of our public affairs. The recent ascension of the important state of North Carolina to the Constitution of the United States, of which official information has been received, the ruling credit and respectability of our country, the general and increasing goodwill towards the government of the Union, and the concord, peace, and plenty with which we are blessed, are circumstances auspicious in an excellent degree to our national prosperity. In reforming your consultations for the general good, you cannot but derive encouragement from the reflection. The measures of the last session have been as satisfactory to your constituents as the novelty and difficulty of the work allow you to hope. Still further to realize their expectations and to secure the blessings which a gracious providence has placed within our reach, will, in the course of the present important session, call for the cool and deliberate exertion of your patriotism, firmness, and wisdom. Among the many interesting objects which will engage your attention, that of providing for the common defense will merit particular regard. To be prepared for war is one of the most effectual means of preserving peace. A free people ought not only to be armed, but disciplined, to which end a uniform and well-digested plan is requisite, and their safety and interest require that they should promote such manufactories as tend to render them independent on others for essential, particularly for military supplies. The proper establishment of the troops, which may be deemed indispensable, will be entitled to mature consideration. In the arrangement which will be respecting it, it will be of importance to conciliate the comfortable support of the officers and soldiers with a due regard to economy. There was reason to hope the pacific measures adopted with regard to certain hostile tribes of Indians would have relieved the inhabitants of our southern and western frontiers from their depredations. But you will perceive, from the information contained in the papers which I shall direct to be laid before you, comprehending a communication from the Commonwealth of Virginia, that we ought to be prepared to afford protection to those parts of the Union, and, if necessary, to punish aggressors. The interests of the United States require that our intercourse with other nations should be facilitated by such provisions as will enable me to fulfill my duty. In that respect, in the manner which circumstances may render most conducive to the public good, and to this end, that the compensations to be made to the persons who may be employed should, according to the nature of their appointments, be defined by law, and a competent fund designated for defraying the expenses incident to the conduct of our foreign affairs. Various considerations also render it expedient that the terms on which foreigners may be admitted to the rights of citizens should be speedily ascertained by a uniform rule of naturalization. Uniformity in the currency, weights, and measures of the United States is an object of great importance and will, I am persuaded, be duly attended to. The advancement of agriculture, commerce, and manufactures by all proper means will not, I trust, need recommendation, but I cannot forbear intimating to you the expediency of giving effectual encouragement as well to introducing of new and useful inventions from abroad, as to the exertions of skill and genius in producing them at home, and of facilitating the intercourse between the distant parts of our country by a due attention to the post office and post roads. Nor am I less persuaded that you will agree with me in opinion that there is nothing which can better deserve your patronage than the promotion of science and literature. Knowledge is in every country the surest basis of public happiness, and one in which the measures of government receive their impression so immediately from the sense of the community, as in ours, it is particularly essential. To the security of a free constitution, it contributes in various ways, by convincing those who are entrusted with the public administration that every valuable end of government is best answered by the enlightened confidence of the people, and by teaching the people themselves to know and to value their own rights, to discern and provide against invasions of them, to distinguish between oppression and the necessary exercise of lawful authority, between burthens proceeding from a disregard to their convenience and those resulting from the inevitable exigences of society, to discriminate the spirit of liberty from that of licentiousness, cherishing the first, avoiding the last, and uniting a speedy but temperate vigilance against encroachments with an inviolable respect to the laws. Whether this desirable object will be best promoted by affording aids to seminaries of learning already established, by the institution of a national university, or by any other expedients, will be well worthy of a place in the deliberations of the legislature. Gentlemen of the House of Representatives, I saw with peculiar pleasure, at the close of the last session, the resolution entered into by you, expressive of your opinion that an adequate provision for the support of the public credit is a matter of high importance to the national honor and prosperity. In this sentiment I entirely concur, and to a perfect confidence in your best endeavors to devise such a provision as will be truly consistent with the end. I add an equal reliance on the cheerful cooperation of the other branch of the legislature. It would be superfluous to specify inducements to a measure in which the character and permanent interests of the United States so obviously and so deeply concerned, and which has received so explicit a sanction from your declaration. Gentlemen of the Senate and House of Representatives, I have directed the proper officers to lay before you, respectively, such papers and estimates as regards the affairs particularly recommended to your consideration, and necessary to convey to you that information of the state of the Union which it is my duty to afford. The welfare of our country is the great object to which our cares and efforts ought to be directed, and I shall derive great satisfaction from the cooperation with you in the pleasing though arduous task of ensuring to our fellow citizens the blessings which they have a right to expect from a free and equal government. President George Washington. Following the address, the Senate appointed a committee which included Senators Rufus King, Ralph Izard, and William Patterson to prepare the following reply, which was delivered on the 11th. We, the Senate of the United States, return you our thanks for your speech delivered to both houses of Congress. The accession of the state of North Carolina to the Constitution of the United States gives us much pleasure, and we offer you our congratulations on that event, which at the same time adds strength to our Union and affords a proof that the more the Constitution has been considered, the more the goodness of it has appeared. The information which we have received that the measures of the last session have been as satisfactory to our constituents as we had reason to expect from the difficulty of the work in which we were engaged will afford us much consolation and encouragement in resuming our deliberations in the present session for the public good. And every exertion on our part shall be made to realize and secure our country those blessings which a gracious providence has placed within her reach. We are persuaded that one of the most effectual means of preserving peace is to be prepared for war, and our attention shall be directed to the objects of common defense, and to the adoption of such plans as shall appear the most likely to prevent our dependence on other countries for essential supplies. In the arrangements to be made respecting the establishment of such troops as may be deemed indispensable, we shall with pleasure provide for the comfortable support of the officers and soldiers with a due regard to economy. We regret that the pacific measures adopted by government with regard to certain hostile tribes of Indians have not been attended with the beneficial effects toward the inhabitants of our southern and western frontiers, which we had reason to hope, and we shall cheerfully cooperate in providing the most effectual means to their protection, and if necessary, for the punishment of aggressors. The uniformity of the currency and weights of measures, the introduction of new and useful inventions from abroad, and the exertions of skill and genius in producing them at home, the facilitating and communication between the distant parts of our country by means of the post office and post roads, a provision for the support of the Department of Foreign Affairs, and a uniform rule of naturalization by which foreigners may be admitted to the rights of citizens are objects which shall receive such early attention as their respective importance requires. Literature and science are essential to the preservation of a free constitution. The measures of government should therefore be calculated to strengthen the confidence that is due to that important truth. Agriculture, commerce, and manufactures, forming the basis of the wealth and strength of our confederated republic, must be the frequent subject of our deliberation, and shall be advanced by all proper means in our power. Public credit being an object of great importance, we shall cheerfully cooperate in all proper measures for its support. Proper attention shall be given to such papers and estimates as you may be pleased to lay before us. Our cares and efforts shall be directed to the welfare of our country, and we have the most perfect dependence upon your cooperating with us on all occasions in such measures as will ensure to our fellow citizens the blessings which they have a right to expect from a free, efficient, and equal government. Simultaneously, the House of Representatives also appointed a committee which included Representatives William Loughton Smith, George Clymer, and John Lawrence to also prepare the following reply, which was delivered on the 12th. The representatives of the people of the United States have taken into consideration your speech to both houses of Congress at the opening of the present session. We reciprocate your congratulations on the accession of the state of North Carolina, an event which, while it is a testimony of increasing goodwill towards the government of the Union, cannot fail to give additional dignity and strength to the American Republic, already rising in the estimation of the world in national character and respectability. The information that our measures of the last session have not proved dissatisfactory to our constituents affords us much encouragement at this juncture when we are resuming the arduous task of legislating for so extensive an empire. Nothing can be more gratifying to the representatives of a free people than the reflection that their labors are rewarded by the approbation of the fellow citizen. Under this impression, we shall make every exertion to realize their expectations and to secure to them those blessings which Providence has placed within their reach, still prompted by the same desire to promote their interests which then actuated us. We shall, in the present session, diligently and anxiously pursue those measures which shall appear to us conducive to that end. We concur with you in the sentiment that agriculture, commerce, and manufactures are entitled to legislative protection, and that the promotion of science and literature will contribute to the security of a free government. In the progress of our deliberations, we shall not lose sight of objects so worthy of our regard. The various and weighty matters which you have judged necessary to recommend to our attention appear to us essential to the tranquillity and welfare of the Union, and claim our early and most serious consideration. We shall proceed without delay to bestow on them that calm discussion which their importance requires. We regret that the pacific arrangements pursued with regard to certain hostile tribes of Indians have not been attended with that success which we had reason to expect from them. We shall not hesitate to concur in such further measures as may be best obviate any ill effects which may be apprehended from the failure of those negotiations. Your approbation of the vote of this House at the last session respecting the provision for the public creditors is very acceptable to us. The proper mode for carrying that resolution into effect, being a subject in which the future character and happiness of these states are so deeply involved, will be among the first to deserve our attention. The prosperity of the United States is the primary object of all our deliberations, and we cherish the reflection that every measure which we may adopt for its advancement will not only receive your cheerful concurrence, but will at the same time derive from your cooperation additional efficiency in ensuring to our fellow citizens the blessings of a free, efficient, and equal government. Thank you for listening to the first part of the State of the Union series and its congressional replies. Please like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification button. You can support the channel on Patreon and become a member of the site, The Amending America, where you can find the historical documents along with getting your essays and policy proposals published on the site for free. Thank you and have a nice day.